תודה.
כן, ומוקדם יותר שוחחנו עם בנימין קליין, יושב ראש בית הכנסת עדת ישראל במלבורן, שהוצת לפנות בוקר. בואו נצפה. Hello and good day, sir. Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Guy. How are you?
I'm very well. We wanted to hear about how you're doing. This is obviously not how you wanted to welcome the Shabbat in Melbourne.
No, it's been quite horrendous for the community. This morning at about 4:30 in the morning, two people came into the shul and threw petrol delic around and lit it on fire and burned the whole shul. I know there's some Sifrei Torahs which are burnt, and the whole community is really quite in shock.
Tell us, how did you first hear about what happened, and how surprised were you by this incident?
So I was still at home at 5 o'clock, and I got a phone call, and I jumped in the car and raced down, and the fire engines were there and the police were there, and really quite horrendous for the whole kahila, for the whole community. This is not something that we expect in Australia. We live far away from any issues overseas and in Israel, and whilst we do feel threatened on the street, and I've had people screaming at me, we don't expect to be firebombed, and to have this happening on the other side of the world is quite horrendous.
So how does an event like this affect the community? How does this affect your sense of security? Walking on the streets, you mentioned walking with a yarmulke on the street these days. Nowhere around the world is that considered safe necessarily.
It's true, Guy, what you're saying, and it's horrendous that it's come all the way to Australia also, and for us to, like you say, walk on the street, my wife was quite upset, and speaking to other members in the community, lots of people were quite crying or were quite upset. The children in school have been affected, and it's just, you suddenly feel that, we're one nation, and when things, happen on the other side of the world in Israel, then over here in Australia, they'll attack you, and it's horrendous for the community to feel that, and it's shocking, really shocking.
And of course, we heard Prime Minister Albanese condemning this event, but we have to say that here in Israel, there's quite a lot of criticism towards the current Australian government with its policies towards Israel. Just last week, a former Israeli minister was not allowed to enter Australia. How do you connect between the very critical policies of this government and the sense of growing anti-Semitism in the country?
There's no doubt that lack of leadership at the top end of the Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, there's no doubt that the way they behave is really what's affecting regular Yiddish or Jewish people walking on the streets of Melbourne. There's no doubt that weak leadership from the top will create anti-Semitism and will create a society which is non-cohesive. And really, Melbourne is lots of different people living in Australia, and it's not necessary for this to come here. But you're right, weak leadership is really something which will affect the Jewish community.
And lastly, as a message to our viewers, many Israelis still visit Australia, obviously. Should they worry about visiting the country, traveling in Melbourne, in Sydney, in major cities as Israelis?
I don't think they should worry. We are very grateful to have Israelis come and to see brothers and sisters from overseas joining us. Australia is a beautiful country, and we are still very blessed. Surely these types of things, are shocking and are sad. Hopefully we recover, we rebuild, and we welcome our Israeli brothers and sisters here soon.
Benimin Kline of the Adat Israel Synagogue in Melbourne, we thank you very much for being with us and wishing you Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Auntie. Shabbat Shalom and all the very best.